गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शॉट। गाना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे आई एम joining after a long time, about after 3 days, going live with you people, and I'm very happy about it. Actually missed this morning sessions. Right. Having said that, what am I going to do today? I'm going to talk of China, follow it up by something about India in specific, the kind of pressures we are facing. And then we'll talk of India-US relations. The next three sessions are going to be about China, India, and USA. I think these are the three more important issues which concern us. We'll take up various facets of this. But today we'll talk of China. What's happening in China? Why do I call China the toxic predator? You have to understand. Uh, we all know there's a downturn in China. We also know there's a whole lot of information coming out of it, manufacturing process, prowess, AI, and things like that, and technology. And there is also some space which has been created for China by USA, by the chaos of Trump's tariff and SEO meet and the optics of the SEO meet and all that, by which everyone thinks China has revived and China is the global alternative to USA because USA is not living up to what it's supposed to do. And China has made use of this opportunity to project itself as that. Well, if I were a Chinese, I would do that also. But I'm an Indian, so I have to examine it. What the Chinese are projecting and what's the reality. What is their greed? And the Chinese are greedy, right? And what is their capability to achieve that greed? That's what I'm going to see. And then you see that, look, China is a toxic predator. China wants power. Xi Jinping wants power. Xi Jinping wants power internally to live forever. Externally, he wants power, and that's where the toxicity comes. Right? So you have to understand this entire stuff. This is not a critique of China. You have to, certain things which I highlight are only to highlight the fundamental thing where China is trying to head. So let's go. First, I want to talk of China's greed. What I find is in the past 1 month, suddenly China sees there's a huge opportunity. August up till July, it was more one-to-one between China and USA. But ever since this, Trump has unleashed tariffs on us and Europe and Japan and Korea, China sees an opportunity. And China has used the SEO very well to project a few issues, and we'll go over that first. One of the first things, China's territorial ambitions. Quietly, when everything is going on, it has declared a nature reserve at Scarborough Shoal. Who is China to? What is the implication of this? Who is China to declare a nature reserve in Scarborough Shoal? What is this all about? This is about the fact the 10 dash line, a claim on that. Now, this Scarborough Shoal, you see here. Okay, have a look fully. This Scarborough Shoal is, this Scarborough Shoal is here within the 10 dash line. Now, that's been declared as a nature reserve by China. So, what's the implication of that? It means that if Chinese have declared it a nature reserve of China, that's Chinese territory. So Chinese sovereignty is being declared on it. Chinese laws will apply. So if you go anywhere near that, you're in Chinese territory. You're in Chinese sea. So you can be strip searched tomorrow. I'm talking metaphorically. You can be stripped and searched because you have entered the Chinese sea. You have entered Chinese sovereign territory. And this is one way of saying this entire area is mine. And this comes after 2 years of jostling at the second Thomas Shoal, at the Scarborough Shoal, and the Sandy Shore down below. Part of their salami slicing tactics. Of course, there's a pushback. Philippines has not agreed. A lot of people have not agreed. Even India has not agreed to it. And we are reminding them, look, we went and did a patrol there. And, this is not their territory. There are other issues, but China is greedy. So he's declared it as his territory again. He's reinforcing his earlier claims. Right? So that's the danger, the greed, Chinese greed. When everyone is looking at anything else, Chinese greed comes to the fore. They're making use of this opportunity. Then, of course, after the SCO, articles like this are coming out. China-led SCO is a critical solve for the ailments in the global order. So it's the solve. It's going to give the solution. And there are ailments in the global order. There are ailments in the global order. But China is part of that ailment. But their projection is, oh, we are the ones who are going to solve the global order. And we're going to lay it down. And, this article talks of the Global Governance Initiative. The Global Governance Initiative is lethal. It's probably the most lethal of all. This very clearly says we will lay down the governing principles of the world. Forget about UN, Xuan, Yewo, all that. Right? At some point of time, China might, amalgamate SCO and BRA or attempt to do so. But let's see. They gave out 5 guiding principles: sovereign equality, adherence to international rule of law. Who will lay this international rule of law down? In this, it will be the Chinese rule. Support for multilateralism under UN system. Multilateralism is all about China at the top. People-centered development. Whose people will be developed? Yours and my people will be developed. But developed the way China wants it. And action-oriented cooperation. So you will be coerced into cooperating. And that's what China is up to. That's the greed. And then, of course, he goes on to say it's a critical solve for today's global system where some state raise tariffs and undermine global institutions. And others call for reform but fail to deliver. We'll talk of this fail to deliver a little later. So SCO is the platform for different cultures, ideologies, and political systems to cooperate. This year it's in China. Next year it's going to be in Pakistan. SCO meet. So the same agenda will be carried forward by Pakistan, who will, in between something else they'll start. So this is a trend line they've started. It's not only in South China Morning Post. It's also coming in Guancha and local Mandarin media. It's the bright sword and the flag in the new era. And people read, and this fellow has given a lot of details. Put it out. And what he says now, you see, the long-term Chinese plan is coming out. In 20th Party Congress, that is on October 22, in one paragraph, it's there. This global governance system is there. It is hidden there. Now that is coming out and people are talking of it. Okay, in that, there was a summary of China's plan to actively participate in the reform and construction of the global governance system. It is not put in these words, but this is what this fellow says, that it is already there in that plan. He says, practice the concept of global governance of mutual consultation, joint construction and sharing, adhere to true multilateralism. All this with Chinese characteristics. Promote democratization of international relations and promote global governance to be more just and reasonable. Just and reasonable is as per China. And now he says the term global governance is being increasingly used by official pronouncements. So we're going to see this onslaught. You have to see the trend lines. Everything has a trend line in China. It's well thought of, but it's not capable. But it is accompanied by a whole lot of propaganda, whole lot of blitz, and they launched it at a time when America is, of course, where it is, and Europe is weak, and their outreach to India is part of this deal. And when they have Russia at their mercy, and this fellow is supporting figures. Okay, he says the Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, and Global Civilization Initiative are being refined in the past few years. As far as GDI is concerned, he says more than 80 countries have joined the Friends Group of Global Development Initiative. I have not heard of it, but he's quoting it. So 80 countries they've got on. Who are these 80 countries? They are the countries where BRI has gone. And these countries must be the ones who are already in debt with China. They have no choice, but so they've come in. They've built more than 30 cooperation platforms. He's quoting figures. More than 1,100 projects have been, carried out. All these would be part of the BRI. Now it is being transferred into the governance. So the governance will be through these projects. The projects are the vehicle for governance. Okay, because the projects will be governed by joint decisions between the host government and China, which has been the host government has been arm twisted to lay down Chinese rules there. And the more dangerous thing is the next one. 60,000 talents of all kinds of developing countries have been trained. More than 60,000 people have been trained. These are China's emissaries going out. This is like that Second World War, not Second World War, the Cold War, infiltration and things like that, which used to happen. So, and what we are most excited about is how many countries China has changed in the field of infrastructure, food security, and continues to evolve in a green, intelligent, and sustainable direction. There's a resonance, which is happening between what they're projecting internally and externally. Now they're justifying this to internally hype up nationalism, tell people, look, we are on the top, and we've already done all this. The initiative is now being followed by articles. A typical Chinese manner. Now external articles will come soon. Internationally, they'll buy media. They'll buy it off. It's a cheap way and ensure that we start reading that nonsense. Then we'll discuss. Then there'll be someone in India who will say, let's have a webinar on global governance of China or global governance. And they will say the existing global order is useless, the governance is useless, so you need a new thing, so get China in. They'll start, they'll pay. Okay. And then he discusses about GCI. Now you see, when the GCI came, everyone said, hey, kya hai? What is this? Now they defined it. There's flesh in the GCI. He says it's been put forward for 2 years. A number of dialogue mechanisms for different countries, ethnic groups, and political parties and cultures have already been set up. I mean, he's listing it out. I've never heard of this, but they're coming out with flesh and blood of this GCI. There's a Chinese Latin Civilizational Dialogue Forum, Asian Civilizational Dialogue Forum, China Greece Civilizational Exchange and Mutual Learning Dialogue, China Africa Civilization and Dialogue Conference, China ASEAN Civilization Exchange and Cooperation Forum, is Liangzhou Forum and Chinese and Foreign Cultural Year. All these are now coming. The flesh and blood of GCI is coming out. So GGI also will start. So we have to understand, with China, other things don't matter. The ideology matters more. And they're coming hard at it. What's the reality of China? There's a gap between the reality and the greed, but the greed is outrunning the reality. When the greed outruns the reality and you put Chinese methods into it, then they're projecting something which is not there. and it is possible that some of us might snap it up. Like a lot of people are talking, oh, we should make mend fences with China. Other day, I heard the one of the chief ministers condemning the government of India for its stance on Gaza. Okay, I mean, just think, a chief minister of a state is condemning the government of India for the government stance on Gaza, Israel, and all that. And then that same chief minister also wishes Xi Jinping on his birthday. So this is the danger within. And I've shown you earlier also that the Chinese ambassador is now a rock star in India, where he holds public meetings with Chinese billboards, nothing in Hindi, nothing in English, nothing in Malayalam, nothing in Tamil, nothing in Telugu, nothing in Punjabi. It's all in Chinese. And he'll talk Chinese there. And we are supposed to accept it. But we need to understand this reality before we fall for their propaganda. Because there are a lot of people who are still falling for this propaganda. Look at this tweet. It just come out. Right? What does this say? You look at their CPI, it's a negative territory. Monthly CPI, annual CPI. What is CPI? I don't have to tell you. Okay. What about PPI? Again, everything is in negative territory. So when your CPI and PPI and WPI and all the price indices are in negative territory, what is it called? It's called deflation. China is in deflation. It's not. So someone tells China's economy is growing by 3%. Where is it growing? It's in deflation. This is how the Chinese thing also starts. When the property crisis started, people said, "Oh no, nothing. A little, one odd firm has had a problem. We'll bail it out. We'll do everything." Yeah, whoa. That went. Others went. Others went. It was a full-scale problem, and today China property sector has collapsed. We know all that. Same thing with their banks. The banks are collapsing one by one. People say, "Oh, we have so much infrastructure," but that infrastructure is a waste, and a lot of that infrastructure is collapsing. It's collapsing slowly. People, when I say China is in deflation, people say you're an idiot. Yeah. What are you talking? China's it's a new era of production, new productivity forces. There are so much of export. That bloody export is at loss, damn it. They are in deflation. And these are figures coming from China, not from me. Have a look at it. See their growth rates which are being projected up to 2030. See the general trend line. This is, of course, the COVID period. But you see the general trend line, how it is going down. And I feel this is steeper. I am not feeling, I am very confident that this is steeper. All these fellows who are in, these forums and World Trade Economics, Statista, and all who come out with figures and give you all the figures where you get data, they're all quoting Chinese data, which is showing a healthy thing. If they don't show all this healthy, what about the investments people have done there? It will all collapse. If the Chinese stock market goes down, a lot of people in Europe and America who are still invested in China will collapse. So they have to prop up China. That is what is happening today. You and I don't have to prop up China. That's the point I'm trying to constantly, when I read China, that's what I try to put out. India does not have to subsidize China. We should take and deal with China the way it actually is. and the way it actually is in pretty bad shape. We have to deal with China hereafter on a clear reciprocal basis. That's something we have to understand. You give me one, you take one. If not, that's not there, forget it. How is China's, you'll ask, how is China's GDP still being shown at 3% extra? I'll give you the explanations. Or it's growing at 3%. When I say it's deflating, but the figure shows 3% the GDP increase. How is it happening? 3 or 4, whatever. Because they're still going by investment route. You think this Three Gorges Dam, I mean, not Three Gorges, the dam in, you know, uh, across in Tibet, it's for electricity and water and all that nonsense. No, it is for investment, infrastructure investment. China can't give it up. If China gives up on infrastructure investment, it will collapse. They have to continue to show. Here it comes, it is not only the dam which they're building in, across in Tibet, across Arunachal in Tibet. They're also expanding the Three Gorges Dam, which is already a failure. They're also constructing north-south canals additionally. All with this thing that someday their, water problems will get solved. It will not get solved. But they have to invest. They have to invest. If they don't invest, the GDP doesn't go up. If the GDP doesn't go up, people will throw them out. The Chinese Communist Party is surviving and increasing its GDP only this way. They'll say, no, there's a problem in the world, and hence we are doing all this. And this is an alternative to their export model collapsing. Property has collapsed. When the property collapsed, they have switched to export. The export is collapsing. Please understand that. And I'll prove it. So if the property is collapsing and the exports are collapsing, property is collapsed. If the property won't recover and the exports also don't recover, then what else do they do to show growth? Investment. Whether that investment is good or not is a different story. How was exports? Now let me see how is they getting hit in exports. Mexico has put a 50% tariff on all items being exported into Mexico from China, which means all the factories which Chinese have put in Mexico, every item which used to come from, because in Mexico they're just assembling things, everything comes from China. So now 50% jack. So what is happening? You see, we might all disagree with Trump, but from the beginning, what I have said is, as far as China is concerned, Trump has a focus. He's gone Ori. If only China was the aim of these tariffs, then by now China would have been on its knees. He let China off the hook by putting tariffs on EU, Japan, Korea, and India. But the problem for China still remains, because today China, any item going from China to Mexico is at 50% tariff. Any item going from Mexico to Trump land is about that 35% tariff. So it's an 85% markup. Who'll buy? Who'll buy? Okay, the cost will go on to the Chinese. I mean, to the Americans. But why will an American buy with the 85% markup? And that backward clogging is happening. And of course, China is now threatening Mexico. Right? That's also there. Threats bhi hai. Now the figures are coming out that the export growth is slowing down. It's no more a speculation. See, you might say that what I'm talking is nonsense. I have no problem with it. But the fact is that all these figures are from China. They're not from my head. They're not from Indian news channels. In any case, Indian news channels don't know what they're talking of as far as China is concerned. This is the story. Now the export-led market is slowly going down. That's collapsing. Okay, it will still be there after all. Like property and the buildings, they can't run away. No, something will keep going, but it's all going at a loss. Incidentally, then there's anti-involution fight. The export led, the dip in exports means involution is taking place. They're all connected. We've said what is involution, new yuan, price cutting. People are cutting prices left, right, and center. They're not selling at any profit. In fact, people are selling it at loss. Now, Chinese factories to escape this tariff, they're going to Vietnam. So they're setting up factories in Vietnam. Vietnam is going rich. That's a different story. Okay, people will say Chinese have beaten the US route. That's okay. But what's happening in China? The factory, if it is upstuck from China, there's loss of jobs, loss of economy in China. Individually, a chap might make money in Vietnam. And a lot of people in China must be making money through ex-Vietnam to keep money there and not bring it back into China. See what's happening overall. The Chinese also know that if one day their system collapses, they need their safe havens. It's still waiting for factory activity to lift off. It's not lifting off. So there's a greed which I showed you earlier, and the capability which is going down in China day by day. Okay. Now, it's not only this, they're targeting India. And you see articles about this iPhone factory in India and things like that blown up. How India cannot be its competitor, we'll come to that. I think I have some slides on that also. I'll come to it later. When all this is happening, you saw a great parade, all that nonsense. Everything as if they're the biggest war machine. Here it comes, four army generals sacked. And this fellow was part of the National People's Congress, the senior most of them, full general, gone. So that the leadership is being constantly cut off. Okay. Leadership is constantly being pruned. If you don't have leadership and your weapons are iffy, how will you say that you will project? And then there are articles which are coming out which says the military gap between US and China is increasing. Again, you might not like the US, but their military is a well-oiled machine. It's got worldwide presence. Why is this gap being closed? It's because AI, all that new technology. So this dazzle is coming through to us. New technology. I always say the best technology is which wins you war, not the best latest technology or the costliest technology. So if we make the mistake of going by what China says, then we are in problems. And this is interesting. Why I showed this? Look at this picture. Now they're talking, oh, India is so good. I mean, China is so good. Our soft power is so good. We conduct today humanoid robot games. Look, the Chinese are idiots. Yeah. They can't conduct normal games of humans. Now they don't, because why? They don't have humans. So they've resorted to humanoid games, robots games. This is it. And that is why I showed this, picture. The picture is more important, not the article. This picture is important. People are no more participating in games. It's the humanoids who are doing. So this is a dehumanizing society, which is laying more emphasis on robots. They are competing with the world to make for automation, AI, robots, all that, and falling behind in human activity. ह्यूमन है ही नहीं, एजिंग ये वो. It's a robotic society. And then they're also putting a lot of pressure on US firms to continue there. If they don't continue, they'll lose everything. So they've actually coerced and trapped people. They're in quite a desperate situation. That's what I wanted to bring out. They're buying up gold and divesting dollars. People say it's de-dollarization. No, it's not. What's happening is tomorrow they're worried if tomorrow their gold dollars are with USA and USA gives them the same treatment as they're given it to China on sanctions. End of story. Okay. Then there are small things which are coming out. Homestay, ye, wo, all that. Okay. China's homestay operators have gone down. These are all grassroots level activities. I mean, it's interesting. The number of kinds of businesses, everything is all going down. Okay. There's a whole lot of degradation, and yet we are made to believe that China's GDP is going up. There's a Chinese handle. The original is in China. I mean, Mandarin. I translated it through Google Translate. लिखा है, translated from Chinese by Grok. Says what's going in China's high-speed rail. Accidents are happening frequently. The Chinese chaps are coming out and telling. On September 8th, not very far back, the G1796 train heading to Hangzhou East suddenly lost power. They're quoting. Now the people have started quoting of the mishaps which are happening in China. Earlier, such things never used to come out. What is more, they're showing pictures about it. Look at this. There's I don't know what China is, but all these chaps, in their high-speed trains.
这个车已经放了2个多小时，所有的乘客都热得受不了了，有的特别热，热了倒地下去。
这里面的乘客都在闹，那非常我也不敢理解。
乘务员他不是人呐，他是人。
So that's their high-speed rails.
我们看不出他也看不出来。
People might say this is a one-off incident. It might be one-off incident. I'm not saying. But you see such things coming out more often by Chinese handles. They're not my handles. And who are these handles which are coming out? Are they operating through VPN or through third parties and all that? It's all in Mandarin. Obviously, they're dissidents. So there's some dissidents in China. We don't know what's the critical mass, but it is there. Then there's a very interesting article. Whole thing. I've shown this in Mandarin, the same thing in English. He says there are over 30 million Chinese still living in mud huts or caves, and they're hiding in extreme poverty without running water. I don't know whether it's right or not, but have a look at this.
找个好地方，好好享受人生去吧。
江路上的腥风血雨的日子，我想你也过得很厌倦。不如我们到雁门关外。
Yeah, look at this. There's no gas shares. There's a fireplace. If you see the rest of this hut, you'll say, "Ye kya hai yaar? Is this the China you're talking of?" Oh, there might not be 30 million as claimed by this guy. Sorry. There might not be 30 million Chinese as claimed by these guys. But they would be. In 1.4 billion people, 30 million is what? 3%. What we see is all, pictures of glitz. But there's a reality behind that glitz. Things not working, infrastructure collapsing, Poverty, people are going back into poverty. Okay. And then there is, off late, I see a concerted campaign coming out, picking, holes in the Indian story. Yahan tak, this Ran Samvad, which I went last month and I gave a video out with Sandeep Punitan, in Mau, that's been extensively commented upon in Mandarin. Obviously, they are worried. Of course, there is an adverse comment. Then they're absolutely about made in India, and this made in India is not about this story about made in India. Is also in Guancha. Is about what? iPhones, your other things in made in India, the civil sector, manufacturing. All these chaps, all the high pitches coming out of China is, oh, we are a great manufacturing nation. India is not. India can't catch up with us. Oh, we have reformed. India can't reform. Indian reforms are useless. This is the story which is they're selling to their people, selling to themselves, and selling to us. Unfortunately, many in India lap it up without seeing what's behind in China. That's why I have very scant respect for China. Okay. Now, this is today morning, Guancha. What does it show? This is in Mandarin. I'm not purposefully. I've not turned it translated. This is what Saudi Arabia, India, and US. Old picture, but this is about IMEC, a failure of IMEC. They're saying, "Oh, look, it started 2 years back, it has failed." But what's the reality? Of course, there's a setback. Why is the setback? Because of Israel, Gaza, Syria, Turkey. Turkey is out of the equation. Israel-Iran war. Because of all this, there's a setback. But the India, Saudi Arabia, and UAE part of the IMEC is going ahead on steam. Or that would they will not talk. Day before yesterday, our Prime Minister and the Italian Prime Minister had a conversation. What was the sum total of that conversation? And that, interestingly, both the Italian Prime Minister and our Prime Minister put out a tweet about this talk. The Italian Prime Minister has said, Ms. Giorgia Meloni, she says, I've spoken to Mr. Narendra Modi and I told him to speed up the IMEC. There's a problem with Gaza. We know that there's a problem in Israel, that Haifa port has to come out, be clean before the corridor has to go. So that's there. But they'll run it down. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting thing. I don't know what's the latest. I've tried to find out, not found out. It's come out in Dawn. It's come out in, the Chinese media. It's come out everywhere. For the past 50 days, Karakoram Highway, at the Kunjurab Pass, there's no traffic going. Blocked. There are protests on the CPEC. And there are the locals in GB and the Chinese have started fighting. Okay, this is it. There's a clip which has come out of this. So interesting, isn't it? What's happening in Kunjurap Pass? Okay, अभी वहां लड़ाई शुरू हो गया. This is even more interesting. This is what happening in Nepal. What happened in Nepal? Okay, this is the Chinese embassy. A chap went on top of the Chinese embassy and brought the Chinese flag down. So happiness. This is how people on the streets are reacting to China. We as a people should be very clear how China is being respected, one in a friendly country, one in a recently friendly country, Nepal and Pakistan. So why should we entertain them? And very interestingly, I'm now focusing on China, Nepal. This is an article by their former prime minister. Who's this fellow? Jalanath Kanal. Who's Jalanath Kanal? He's a guy whose wife was burnt. And this fellow says this is a color revolution. And immediately 2 days after his wife is burnt, he doesn't write anywhere in Nepal, Shepal and all. He writes in Chinese newspapers. So in Nepal, there is a potent threat of the Chinese still there, the communists. So I just thought I'll put all these today to you so that we keep this whole story in focus. You know, when people say China is going to do that, China is going to do this, and China is the greatest country in the world. And no, we have to deal with China to get technology and this and that. Please understand what China is up to. Okay. And that's how it is. And let's take it. It's okay. And part of it. The Chinese model is failing. I hope all those chaps who are part of the CCP understand where you are failing. You're failing because communism is failing world over. You're the last bastion of communism in the world, and you've failed. You're in poverty. Your export model has failed. Your infrastructure model has failed. Okay? Your property model, which is the prime driver of your economy, has failed. Your military, which you have flaunted with the latest technology, was defeated soundly. All your equipment was defeated soundly by India in Opsindur. You have finished off your leadership. Your people are not prepared to join the army. And yet you want to do global governance. Who's interested in you buffoons? Okay. With this, I'll take some questions. I'm happy that a lot of people from CCP have come on my show. I hope more come. And I'll cover more about China and we'll show a mirror to them. And I'd like all of you who are in India to like, subscribe to Gunnershot. And even join me as members. And I'd like even Chinese people who are on this, to subscribe to Gunnershot. I'll keep showing you a mirror of what you people are. And I am picking up from your articles, not my articles. Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot, Varga, for this compliment. I picked it up with a lot of care, this article called Cartoon. Hello, Akash. Yeah, Balakrishnan, good morning. Ladybird Haru, good morning. If the art cartoon depicts China looks like, then obviously they're on steroids. Yeah, an American created a Frankenstein. No wonder Frankenstein is going after the Americans. Your views, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. There's no doubt about it. But whatever happens, this Frankenstein is a weak Frankenstein. Hans Geo, good morning. Can you explain critical distinction? The PLA is the armed wing of the Chinese Communist Party and not a national military in the traditional sense. I completely agree with you. I mean, why? You know what? You will have to see one of my videos on this. I had done on PLA. If you go there, you will get the complete details of why PLA is not a national army. The first task of the PLA is to protect the Chinese Communist Party and protect its rule. It's not to protect China. Do you know that? The task. And that is why it is a private army of the Communist Party and not the army of the Chinese nation. It's not a national military. Indian Army is mandated in the Constitution of India, to guard the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the nation. That tasking is not there for the PLA. That's a secondary tasking. The first tasking is take care of the CCP. The CCP should be staying in power. That's the thing. But having said that, I did a full thing on the PLA. Have a look at that. Just type PLA and gunner shot search, you'll get one. I did the last one I did. Yeah. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I agree with you. Yeah, I am an old military brat watching you from Canada. Why is China toxic? I've explained to you why China is toxic. Okay. I completely, it's toxic and greedy. It's toxic because it spreads its toxicity. The toxicity of the Chinese communist thought process goes out. And we have suffered, incidentally, in Nagaland, in the northeast, down south. Even West Bengal suffered because of this toxicity. China continues to engage in industrial espionage, cyber attacks, and spy balloons, yeah, flies. I agree with you. Why is holding back? It's up to the US. I don't know. I think US is quite confused about what they want to do. And that has been amplified by what Trump is up to. I mean, it's very funny that, like what Akash said earlier, USA is the one who created this Frankenstein, and USA must kill it. But USA still wants to continue with it. That's something USA has to ask. Sanpo has been built from July. I know that. We all know that. I've done 2-3 programs on that. And I've got an interesting article on the Sangpo Dam and what China is up to. And actually, it isn't that interesting, article in Guancha, which I really came to know that the requirement of the dam is not so much for electricity or water. It is more for infrastructure development so that their GDP can go up. One of these days, I'll present that article to all of you. China is the world's poorest country. I agree with you completely. You might put it up as a joke, but I agree with you. It's the poorest country because China is a rich country with poor people. Yeah. Good morning, Kiran. I see a lot of guys like Silver Flash and Mate. These are all from China. It's okay. Let them come. Is democratic India I speak what I have no problem. You know, every donkey must be given an opportunity to speak. That's your icon. So we must give you. Any discussions on this topic could affect geopolitics. I agree with you completely. Autonomous robots were more like humans than compared to Chinese lame robots or even hello. Yeah. Why are people in Nepal angry with Indian media? Ask Nepalese. Okay, right. Armies of communist countries have a political tendency, then how were those of Russia and Vietnam so strong? Nationalistic spirit in Vietnam, yes. USSR was not a strong army after Second World War. Okay, they just started collapsing. See, communism is very heady and very good to a point of time. It strengthens the nation to a point of time. After that, it collapses the nation. That's what's happening. And if you actually study Vietnamese communism, they have watered down their communism quite a bit. Vietnam communism is quite democratic. They're just about, from democracy, they're probably two steps away from democracy, Vietnam. A little more and they'll become democratic by nature. Whereas China is still Maoism. They were coming towards democracy, right, under Hu Jintao. But Xi Jinping has taken them completely the opposite direction. Okay. Yeah. Both China and US constantly undermine us with fault lines. Russia, Japan never. I agree with you completely. Yeah. Sundar, I would suggest don't bother. These chaps will come. Every time I talk of China, there are trolls from China who are coming. So it's okay. That's not a problem. Yeah, Chinese media only bashed us, calling us Western stooges. They lifted phrase global south from us, yet hit third world slant. Isn't people to people contact their weakness? How will they lead? They can't lead anything. They can't lead themselves. China India border can be resolved. Sorry, it can't. Yeah. Why India still much in trade with China? We're not reducing it. That's the problem with the government. There's no doubt about it. I have no doubt that we need to reduce. Okay. Is it true that many US and Chinese moles are in Indian deep state and reason why we I agree with you. Well, they have a government which has been being undermined by China. You have a state government which is in sync with China. What do you do? It is us as people who have to start reacting. Why were Chinese and GB people fighting? The GB people are fed up of Chinese. For the past 50 days, that Kunjara Pass has been closed. There's a sit down protest by GB people. They're not allowing anyone from China to come in and go out. Yeah, thanks for the morning session. Very apt, funny caricature and your rigor analysis. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, Chinese are like animals in a circus. They don't know how to hunt their own, and in their view, it's hard to survive without CCB protection. You'll see this going down. China won't revive. Let me be very clear about it. What do common Chinese people feel about overthrown communist government in Nepal? Do they feel inspired? I hope so. I hope so. But maybe one day, one of these days, I'll discuss about the Chinese thinking and all that. But that's in a later day as to whether communism will survive or not. Okay, we'll talk of it. This is an important question which I have to address in a holistic manner. Yeah, Victor Ga, who was saying India will have to give up on Arunachal, else Chinese army will take over Delhi. Okay, let it come. Chinese army comes to Delhi. Let me see. The buggers have gone back in Demchok and Depsang. Okay, be clear about that. They'll not come anywhere near. I have read what that fellow writes and what propaganda he talks. That's the thing. We shouldn't fall for such propaganda. The day we start believing Chinese propaganda, we are defeating ourselves. You see those guys, that Silver Flash and that Mathur and all these chaps. That Mathur fellow is not from India. That I'm very clear. If he's an Indian, he's a communist. That's the way he is behaving. They watch what we talk, and they will turn around what we talk into what they like. And remember, ever since Op Sindoor happened and my comments, they started appearing in Chinese media. They've been watching. They're very worried. Okay. So that is the issue. Right? So you have to understand their propaganda. So yeah, Lady Bird, yeah, came across an article in Times now calling China's Himalayan infrastructure a bluff. Yeah, can you give me the link? Put it in the comment. I'll be grateful to you. Let me have a look at it, and I'll talk of that also. Right? And like this chap, he says he's from CCP. He says, please explain why America backed off from tariffing China. How am I interested? I am not interested why America has tariffed China. That's between America and China. Let them sort it out. I'm more interested why America has trying to tariff India. We'll sort them out. Don't worry. In any case, let them come. Now, that is a thing which we'll talk of. My next, talk is of India and USA in the evening. Join in. What's the future of India-US relations? We'll talk of that tomorrow. In fact, today in the evening. Right. Silver Flash, he says, I don't even like the CCP. Well, I don't know whether you like the CCP or not. But join us in the evening. Join me in the evening. I'm going to talk of India and US. And that's a pretty detailed thing. So I'll then get China in. And finally, I'm going to talk of China tomorrow morning. India, China. This is only a thing about China at this point of time. The fact today, what I've spoken of is China is greedy, but it is weak. Right? Okay, fine. With this, I've come to the end of today's, podcast. We'll meet in the evening and we'll talk of India and USA. Thanks a lot for all of you who have joined in. Right. Look, this fellow is persistent. Are you interested in America tariffing India? Does this mean India is weak? Come in the evening, join in. I'll discuss all this. Okay. Till then, have a great time. Enjoy yourself and Jai Hind to all of you.